Welcome to another tutorial, and today we're going to learn how to make a typewriter in Blender and make it type the text we type in. And we're going to add sound effects. This will be an introduction to making a GUI in UPBGE. We'll expand upon it later with buttons and stuff like that, but for now, I think it's important that people know how to manipulate text in Python without having to use logic nodes, because logic nodes are the devil. Alright, let's continue on. So first, what we're going to do is import. First we gotta save our Python file, so let's go tutorial 5.py. Now let's call it 205.py. Okay, we got that saved. Now let's import. We're going to need to import BGE. Is there any other class I'm going to need for this? Doesn't look like it. Alright. And then we need to go ahead and make our component. So we're going to create a class called text type. And it'll inherit from bge.types.kx Python component. We'll give it an empty dictionary for the args, because args is always required. I'm going to create a start function. What's missing here? Nothing. Right. And we got to create our update function. Okay, we'll save that. Now we're going to go to Blender. In Blender, we got to sacrifice our default cube because there is no happiness cannot be achieved without sacrifice. You want to be happy, don't you? Then we must sacrifice the cube. It's gone. And now I'm happy, you see? Happiness can only be achieved with sacrifice. Next, we'll go ahead and import our script, just so it's here. And there it is. And we're not doing anything with it yet. So in Python, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to press 1 on our numpad to go to side view. And maybe we should do this from top view. We'll press 7 to go to top view. Zoom in a little. We'll go to object. Actually, we'll go to view. Align view. Align active camera to view. Next, we need to import an image plane of our typewriter. So I'm going to do Shift-A to import, image, and choose mesh plane. We'll set the shader to shadeless so we don't have to mess with anything. And we'll navigate to our typewriter image and import it. And we'll go to rendered view. And there's our typewriter. Then we're going to click on our camera, press G and Z, and then we'll dive into it. We'll press G and Y. And we're going to okay. And then I'll go ahead and press P to see what this looks like in our game. And we got a nice little typewriter GUI. We're going to put some text. I'm going to go ahead and show the mouse, but the mouse disappears in the game engine right now, but we'll change that so I can start pointing around here. But basically in this paper area, we're going to add a text field we can type into. So we'll close the game, and so first thing we want to do then is to make the mouse cursor show up, just so I can point around. We'll do bge.logic.mouse.visible and set it to true. Then back in Blender, I have the typewriter image selected. I'll reload my script. We're going to go down to Python component and add, and then this will be toot05.texttype, because that's the name of our class here, text type. That's the name of our Python file is toot05. So toot05.texttype and click OK. Oh, I typed in text typer. Let's okay. toot05.texttype. And there it is. The component is added to our typewriter plane. And because this mouse value here is set to true, when I press play, P for play, you can now see the mouse in my window. Alright, cool. Next, we'll close that. And we're going to create two variables here. We need a variable for our text we're going to type, and we need a variable for the text so we can delete. Even though it's a typewriter and everything is permanent with the typewriter, unless you're using erasable typewriter paper or ink, we will be able to backspace because this is a game or a computer, not a typewriter. All right, continuing on. So we'll create a variable called self.typeText and set it equal to an empty string. Then we'll create another variable called stage_delete and set it to an empty string, stage_del, and set it to an empty string. Why is it like that? Oh, because it's not, I entered in the middle of the, there we go. All right. So for this, we'll create a function. We'll be calling a function called text type. So I'm going to pseudocode it down here. How about we call it key typer? The function doesn't exist yet, but we're going to make it right now. So key typer inherits from self, because any function you want to call inside a class in the update requires self.keytype. You need self right here. There's your Python knowledge for the day. All right. So we're going to create a keyboard variable inside the function. When you don't use self, it's a local function, so the variable only exists inside the function. So keyboard is equal to bge.logic.keyboard. And then we're going to create a variable called pressed. It's going to be set to bge.logic.kx input just activated. And now what this does is it'll only send a yes signal to the keyboard dictionary when the key is just pushed. So if you hold it down, it'll stop sending that signal. It sends it to something called the Q entry of the dictionary, of the keyboard dictionary, but who cares? Next, let's go. We're going to create a right shift variable. So when we press the shift button, we can do capital letters. So BGE dot events dot right shift key left underscore shift is equal to BGE dot events dot left shift key. And then we need a key for backspace so we can delete. So backspace is equal to BGE dot events dot backspace key. Oh, come on. There you are. All right. So one way to do this is we could do a bunch of if statements, but that would be lame because that would take forever. So in order to code this just once, we're going to use a for loop. So welcome to for loops. All right. So our for loop is going to be for, let's say, let's go ahead and call it I, because a lot of people use I for loops. I in keyboard dot inputs. So this will check if a key is pressed inside the keyboard inputs dictionary. And then we need to avoid, we don't want anything to happen. Oh, we also need to create one for enter. Okay. So enter key, enter is equal to BGE dot events dot enter key. All right. So next what we want to do is if backspace is pressed and if enter key is pressed, we don't want a text signal sent to our text. So actually we'll put a pin this right now. We'll go ahead and do pass here. And then we'll go ahead and save it. And we'll reload it to make sure we don't have any errors. And when I press play, we do get an error. Object has no attribute key typer. What I do? Oh, I misspelled key typer. See, this is why we test our code. All right. While we're making it. Next, let's try reloading again and make sure the error goes away. There's no error. And we can see our mouse cursor. Yay. All right. So next, you got to learn about text. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a text object in Blender in UPBGE. So we'll do Shift A. Oh, I got to click in the window. Okay. Shift A. To add an object, we're going to choose text. Text is nice and big. We need to make it more visible, so we'll go ahead and set it, give it a new material, make it black, and we'll go to emission, and set it to black, and make it 1.5 just to make sure it's a nice dark black. And then we're going to get rid of the light here. We don't need it because our typewriter is shadeless. There we go. Got some nice black text. And we'll scale it down. Move it up here. Scale it down. Oops, move to the typewriter. Alright, next we're going to select our text. We'll press tab so you can see that you can edit the text in edit mode. And we'll call this beefy. Oh yeah, because beef is delicious. You'll notice when I press enter here, this heads down. So that's not ideal. So we'll adjust that in our typewriter function. So we'll go ahead and press tab to leave that as beefy. But we need a more typewriter-like text, don't you think? And let's look at this. From the size of our GUI, that text looks a little big for typewriter also, so we'll go ahead and scale it down a little bit. And we'll raise it up so the beefy's not touching the typewriter. Also, we're changing the font right now, so I'm going to go to this A tab here, and I'm going to go to the font section and go to regular and click on this folder. And I'm going to navigate to my tutorial folder, tutorial 5, and we got a Albert Fall typewriter font, so we'll use that. And now beefy looks like it's typed on the typewriter, and actually kind of blends with there, so that's a good spot for it. So we'll leave that there. I like that. All right. And then once again, we can select that text and press tab, and we can edit it. We can call it tuna or lizard. There. And so we have the ability to put text there. But the question is, how does this do this? How does the typewriter object work in UPBGE as a game object? Well, the answer is that it has a built-in property called text. So what we'll do first here is under our start function, we're going to we'll do a quick test here. We'll do self. We'll import the text object. So we'll do it under update since we're going to do it anyway. So let's change the name of this to something more usable because you can't have everything be text. So we'll just call it typewriter. We'll call it type text because we already have something called typewriter. So type text. And what we can do is we can import this object into our start function. So we can say type text, and let's do it in the update. Because actually I don't think the game properties get created until after the start function runs. I mean, they can be created in the start function, but they may not be available until after the start function runs. So we'll do type text is equal to self.scene.object. Oh no, it needs to be self.object. Self.object dot scene dot objects. And then we got to put in the name of our text object here. So it's going to be type text. So go ahead and move this out a little bit so you can see it. Okay. Right here it says type text. So here we're going to type text. So this brings in that KX game object type text and assigns it to the variable type text here. Next, we'll set the text. So we can add, there's a built-in property in text objects called text. So we can go type. Actually, to show you it, what we'll do is there's something in UPBGE called the attribute dictionary. So we could actually do type text dot attribute, and we can put in a print statement. So print type text attribute, and we'll save that. We'll zoom out a little bit, and we press play. Now we'll actually see that the attribute dict is empty right now. Okay. But let's say we wanted to go ahead and change this word lizard to something else. Close that. What we can do is we can assign the text to the text object by doing this. Type text is equal to, and it has to be equal to a string. So let's call this Chrognar, because that's my name. Oh, Chrognar. Sorry, Grognar's a Warcraft 3 character. Chrognar. Alright, let's do it. So we save that. We reload it. And we'll press play. And you see the text change to Chrognar. Isn't that great? Now one thing you'll notice is actually when I press play, it starts with lizard and switches to Chrognar. Now let's get in here. That was pretty quick, but you'll see that. So what we can do is we can actually move that to the start function to completely contradict myself. Put in the start function. Oh, we have to put this up here too. We'll save it, reload it. When we press play, it says Chrognar. Isn't that great? So, because we want the text to already be, the text attribute to be here, let's go ahead and change this to, I got an error down here because this is here and it doesn't exist in this function yet, but we're going to go ahead and make type text global. Now to make a variable global inside a component, we just do self.typetext, and we'll do self.typetext, and down here we'll do self.typetext. Now because this text attribute has been created by assigning it to Chrognar, this should show up in the attribute dictionary now also. And we'll press play. I got to click in the window. I got to reload the script. Reload the script and press play. says Chrognar. Oh. Okay, it looks like the text property doesn't exist in the attribute. That's interesting. I guess you'd have to assign it. Okay. Well, let's find where else the see what we got here. Oh, we can do get properties, so we'll do that. Get property names. Okay, there we go. Must have converted that to C++. That makes it more efficient. Okay. Bink. There we go. And we now see that a text property exists in the object, and it says Chrognar. Cool. So now we need to manipulate this text because we want this to be like a GUI of some kind, right? So the next thing we want to do is we're actually going to change text to an empty string. We'll save it. And we'll play it. There we go. There's no text there now. All right. Next, we're going to continue on with our key typer function. So just to review, we got a keyboard variable. We have a pressed it variable that goes to KX input just activated. We got a shift key. We got a left shift key. We got a backspace key. And we got an enter key. And then we got this for loop that's going to be for I in keyboard inputs, which means it's going to detect every key press in BGE logic keyboard, right? First thing we need to do is make sure that it does nothing with backspace or enter. So if backspace not in keyboard dot active inputs. So active inputs are the keys that are actually pressed. And we're going to do or enter in not in keyboard active inputs. If pressed is in keyboard let's actually call it keyboard inputs I dot Q and then we need to create a variable called we're going to call it key press for when we press a key, and we'll set to BGE dot events dot event to character. So what this does is basically I is looping through every key in the keyboard to check if it's checked, right? And then when it detects that a key's been pressed in the input just activated queue, any characters pressed other than backspace or enter, it'll set this variable equal to a character, a string character, right, to the event. So it's going to be I, because that's going to, whatever key we type, we want that to be the character that's created. And then the shift option is going to be set to true, so this will be a capital letter. So this is a Boolean. The second Boolean in the events to character function. If it's true, it'll be a capital letter. If it's false, it'll be a lowercase letter. So we need to add another if statement here. So we need to detect if R shift or L shift is pressed. So we'll say if R shift is in keyboard dot active inputs, or L shift is in keyboard dot active inputs. If a key is pressed with the shift key held down, it'll make a capital letter. And then we'll do one more section here. So we'll do an else. So whenever we're not pressing shift, else if pressed. So it'll be the same as this section here. So we'll copy it, yank it, as we say in Vim. If pressed in keyboard inputs IQ, then this will be equal to I false. So when shift isn't held down, it'll be a lowercase character. And that should be good enough for getting the text to show up. So let's do that. So that'll run key typer. We'll get rid of this. You see that basically all texts under the properties, all texts have a property called text that makes the text show up in Blender and UPBGE, and you can set it equal to any string you want. So that's cool. So we'll get rid of this now so we don't see that in the GUI. We don't need it anymore. And now we're going to do the update function. We'll do self.typeText text is equal to type text. Self.typeText. So it's going to set it to this empty variable here, but and actually we should change it here too. I will leave that as an empty string to initialize it. It's fine. Okay. And then so after the game, once the game starts, it'll be looking at this variable here called typeText. Oh, we got to change the name of this. This needs to be called hypertext. Okay. Typertext. And then right now, all this does is return the character. So it's returning it to the air right now. There's key press is just logging the keystroke in memory, but it's not returning a value. So the cool thing about Python 3.9 and newer, this is using 3.11, so this is available now. We can add string events to a variable by using the plus equal sign. So we could actually do self.typertext plus equals key press. So that basically means that inside this empty string of typertext, every key press will be added as a string, as a character to a string in here. So that's pretty neat. And we need to copy it. Oops, I deleted it. My bad. Undo. Undo. There we go. And then copy it. And then we'll go here and paste it. Okay, cool. So yeah, so plus equals on a string now in Python with a, you could basically add a concatenation of another string variable to a string with the plus equal sign now. So that's pretty sweet. So we'll do escape, and then we'll do save our file, go back to UPBGE, and it says lizard right now, and when we press play, it'll say nothing. And then when I start typing on the keyboard, it shows up. Isn't that great? And we'll run it again and say, ah, I misspelled. Let's do it again. Oops. Click on Blender and press P. And we'll type in Chrognar is awesome with the misspelling. There we go. All right, so next, this isn't good enough. We need to be able to delete our text, and we need to be able to press enter to clear it out. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and add the delete event. So in our key typer function, we're going to press enter a couple times. And we'll set up an, we don't need an else, we need an elif here. Elif, backspace in keyboard dot active inputs. What we need to do now is we need to we actually don't need this here because we have to actually use a property in game to create a delete function, because using a variable in the component, it won't apply it to the text correctly. I've tried a whole bunch of ways to do it, and this is the only way I could find. So what we got to do is, so when the backspace button is pressed, we have to do self dot, and actually this is common in word processing programs too, but self dot type text. We got to create a new property called, we'll call it stage delete, to stage the string after the delete key is pressed, to stage what the delete is going to look like. And then so self.text, object.text.stage delete, self.text is equal to self.typertext. So we're setting the stage delete property to what the current type text variable is. And then we're going to use something called string slicing. Oops. So we're going to set a range of beginning of the string to -1. And what this will do is this will take the typer text, remove the last character, and dump it into a property, a string property called stage delete in the object. if that makes sense. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you need to watch more Blender tutorials or BGE tutorials. All right, next. And then go to, then what we have to do is we have to create an if statement in our update here. If stage delete is in self.typetext. So we'll check if this property exists inside the text object that right now says lizard. If that property exists, what it'll do is it'll set its text. So it'll set the text property of the object. We don't need to do object. We need to do self.typetext. Text is equal to self.typetext stage delete. So it'll change the text to the stage deleted text, which will be the text with a -1 character at the end. It'll cut off the last character of the string. Then we got to change our typewritetext variable to match it. So self.typewritetext is equal to self.typetext stage delete. So what this does is, the reason we need to type this here and change typewritetext to match the delete text is every logic text, the text is going to be set to typewritetext. So we need to make sure that when you delete a key, it's updated with the deleted string data. And the last thing we need to do, so this this function is not called after every key press, because if we leave it like this, when you press the backspace once, it's going to just delete the whole string. So we need to do we need to do del. That's the delete function in Python. And then we need to self.typetext stage delete. So what happens is every time you press the backspace key, it'll remove a character. It'll create a new string that's removes the last character from it. And then in this update function, when it detects that stage delete is in the object, it'll set the text to be the stage delete property, and then it'll change the self.text variable to be the same value as that stage delete property to update it. And then it'll delete the stage delete, so it stops this for loop, this if statement, right? This if conditional. And then after that, it'll update. So theoretically, this should work. And we'll get rid of the string because it's no longer needed. All right. Now if we press play, I can type Chrognar is awesome. Oh no, I made mistakes. Let's delete them. It's not working yet. Interesting. Let's change this to else. let's take a look here. What am I doing wrong? Oh, I see what's going on. If backspace and keyboard inputs, oh, we have to do it pressed, huh? Let's do else. If pressed in keyboard dot inputs, we need to add something else here. We need to do if self.typetext is equal to an empty string does not equal an empty string. If pressed is in inputs backspace dot q, it'll delete the text. I spelled backspace wrong. Oh, it's backspace. There you go. No E. Okay, got that saved. Let's reload it. Let me press play. All right. Chrognar. Oh, all right. It's not deleting. For I in keyboard inputs. Oh, it's type texture. That's why. Typer text. Okay. Typer text does not equal an empty string. This will keep the cursor from going. This will keep it from getting an error when there's an empty string and you press backspace. It probably doesn't matter, but we're doing it. All right, next. And then we'll do Chrognar. I've already made a mistake. I pressed backspace. It's not working. I'll be back. I gotta do some print testing. All right, I'm back. I got this figured out. So, from the look of it, it looked like the for loop here did not like the or operator. The or operator for enter in here, so we had to tree it. So if backspace not in keyboard active inputs, if backspace is in the active inputs, then if the keyboard is pressed in the press queue, it'll stage the. I also had to do local variables, so it re-imports the object into this section of the script. It adds a property called stage delete that is the text typer variable, which is the current state of the text, minus the last character each time you press the backspace key. And then I did a print test here to make sure the property was there. And then we'll create the enter function, which will just clear out all the text. So we'll do play so you can see it. And now if I type Chrognar, oh, I already made a mistake. Hey, look, backspace is working. And you'll see in the print test down here, it's updating the state of that stage delete. When I press the delete key, you'll see it shows up. Yep. Chrognar is awesome. And nothing happens when I press enter. But we can delete now by pressing backspace. Alright, so we'll add the enter thing. This will be similar to what we did with, you can pause the video and look at this to type this out if you want. But now we're going to go ahead and add an else here, so when enter is pressed, just something like that. Okay, else if pressed in keyboard dot inputs enter dot q it'll just set self dot typer text to an empty string, and that'll clear it out. So then we'll do escape, and we'll save our file, and we'll click in here and play the game. Now if we type, let's try something new. Beef is what's for dinner. We could backspace it. And press enter, and it clears out. And we can type something else. Michael is the best coder. Is the second best coder. Yule is the best coder. And Alley Cat Jones is awesome. And LS is a badass. There you go. So we could type all that in. Now what we got to do is, this is still not good enough. The player needs feedback, right? In game design, we're concerned with what we call affordances, which is what the player can do. So what the player can do is they can type in this thing. Player can type, which is great. But we got signifiers, which are the letters. So signifiers are this text. And the picture of the typewriter is like a signifier that you could type on it, right? If you want to learn more about actual game design, it's a great book by Don Norman called The Design of Everyday Things. But it's actually about design in general, like the design of objects and spaces, but it's very important and very influential at game design. So Don Norman, The Design of Everyday Things is Great. So look up that book. All right, we got that cleared out. So, but we need feedback. So, what better feedback could we get than typewriter sounds when we type, right? So, give me a moment while I set that up, and I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. So the way we do sound in UPBGE is with the odd class we got to import. So we got to import odd. It's called Autospace, but we pronounce it outer space because Blender is cool like that. So we're importing outer space, also called Autospace, and it's import AUD. And then we need to create some sound strings here. So we'll do self dot type sound is equal to, and then we got to navigate to in UPBGE, all relative paths in the file system. I don't know if I can show you guys right now. I'll go ahead and show you guys my desktop. Okay. So in UPBGE, all relative paths are to the Blender or the Blender player. So the Blender player is right here, right? So every directory path you have to do is relative to that. So from Blender player, we're going into the tutorial 5 folder. And then our OGG files for the typewriter tick and the typewriter enter sound are here. So we'll set that up. Let me get back to showing you my beautiful face. All right. So what we're going to do is, cool thing about Vim and Helix is if you do /, it'll bring up your folder paths. So we're going to do /. We do // because we're in the directory of the Blender player. Then we'll do tutorial 5 / and we'll select typewriter tick. We'll go ahead and change this to tick sound just so it's way different from our type variable. Tick sound is equal to our path to the OGG file. Then self dot end sound will be equal to tutorial 5 / typewriter enter OGG. Cool. And then we're going to create a function that's going to be called when we actually press these keys. So we'll create a function called, and this function has to be above the key typer function because we need BGE to read the functions that exist before key typer so key typer can call them. So we're going to put it right here. We'll do def. We'll call this sound. We'll call this SFX player. Here to self. And we'll do first thing we got to do is import odd. So we got to create a sound device. So we'll call this We'll go ahead and initialize sound device up here so it's ready. So self dot, and we'll separate it out so our code looks nice. Self dot sound device is equal to odd dot device. Now initialize the device. Next, we need to we'll go ahead and stage the sound files also here. So we'll do self dot and we'll invert these to call it, so self dot sound tick is equal to odd dot sound tick sound, or self dot tick sound. And we'll do self dot sound ent is equal to odd dot sound self dot end sound. So those are initialized. So what this will do is Autospace will initialize the device. Then in Autospace's outer space's memory, it's going to load the sound to this variable. In one address in memory, it's going to now load in the tick sound. In another address in memory, because our variables changed, it's going to, let's fix that. It's going to load in the sound enter sound, typewriter enter and typewriter tick. Okay. Then so what we'll do is we'll call this sound effects tick. And what it'll do is it'll be self dot play sound is equal to self dot sound device dot play self dot sound tick. And we'll create another function called sound effects enter, and it'll be self dot play sound so it will change the value. It will use the same memory address to play the sound. It'll just switch between them. So play sound will be L, and then to prevent the audio from killing our ears, we'll just we'll do self dot play sound dot volume. For some reason, volume used to show up in the Blender stubs, but it doesn't seem to. It looks like they're updating the Blender stubs, so it's not showing up now. But play sound.volume will be equal to 0.8, so we'll only be playing at 80% of the sound's max volume. And we'll do play sound.volume is equal to 0.8. And then we're going to set the loop count to 0, so it doesn't play the sound over and over again unless you type something, because we don't want to overflow the sound buffer. Normally the loop count is 0 by default, but we're going to just make sure. It's going to play sound. Oh, we don't need it for now. But we do need to prevent sound buffer overflow. It'll prevent the sound from playing over and over again. So if you type real fast, the sound will overlap on each other and cause resonant frequencies in the sound output in the speakers, and that can overflow your sound buffer. So we're going to, it's not caused by that, but you don't want to overflow your sound buffer. So we're going to create another variable called buff overflow, or overflow stopper. So we just call it flow stopper. Set equal to false. And then we'll say if we don't need it. I don't think we need it because these sounds are short. So if I kill my ears, you'll know. Alright. So next, we'll save that to make sure we don't get any errors. And then we'll go back to Blender, reload the file, and we'll check the output, make sure there's no errors. Okay, so far no errors. That's because the functions weren't called. And I'm going to have to turn up my desktop sound on OBS here so we can hear it. Okay. Next, we're going to go ahead and, so whenever we type something, we're going to call this sound effects tick. So after the string is updated, we'll do self.sfx tick. Why is it green? Oh, because it's capitalized. Okay, let's make it SFX ticks. There we go. Capital letters are usually a naming convention for constants. That's why they turn green in Vim or in Helix. And then if, yeah, and self.sfx ticks here. And then if the enter key is pressed, we'll do self.sfx enter. And for the delete function, it'd be cool to have a different sound, but we're going to do self.sfx tick to keep this tutorial shorter than it would be. Okay. Escape, save it, and we'll see if we get any errors. No errors yet, and let's see what happens when I type something. Okay, look at that. Oh, I overflew the sound buffer. Okay. Alright. Oh, my ears. Okay, we did overflow the sound buffer, so we need to put in a flow stopper. So, how can we do that? So we're going to add a flow stopper here. And then in here we're going to say if self.flowstopper is equal to false. It's giving us a warning here. My Python linter wants us to be Pythonic, so we could say like this. If not self.flowstopper. And then after we play the sound, it'll set it to true. Actually, we don't need it for the tick. The tick wasn't actually causing a problem because it's short. So maybe we just need a separate variable for this one. So we'll call this play enter. Let's do that. So it's 2 different memory addresses. All right, try that. These sounds are both short, so they don't need a flow stopper because it's only playing them when we touch a button. So, do we got an error? Oh, I haven't reloaded. Okay. I got errors. Where are my errors? Okay, so that lost a colon. Okay, is all my errors? Yeah. All right. Yeah, I think it was a mistake sending these to the same memory address, so we'll go ahead and try again. If I overflow, I'm going to be very upset. Well, I'll be kind of upset. I'll be annoyed because my ears will be like, ah. Okay, and... Oh, still happening. So we need an overflow stopper for enter. So what we can do is, well, we need a separate sound device. Well, let's first try an overflow stopper, and then after that we'll try a separate sound device. Of course, it could be my sound file's corrupted too. We'll find out. So, first we'll try initializing a different sound device for the self.ent device is equal to odd.device. And then under here we'll do play enter is equal to ent device play. Now I'll try it. Maybe it just needs 2 separate sound devices. Oh, I know what's going on. Okay, it's happening when I press the backspace key. So let's just get rid of the tick here. And then we'll try press and play again. Oh, I didn't reload my script, right? Oh, I got 12 issues now. What's going on? Let's undo something. Okay. I think we might need a flow stopper. Now we're going to try pressing the enter text. See if it's the enter function causing it. Ah, it's my sound file. Okay, my sound file's corrupted. Alright, I'll be back. Alright, I got this all figured out. It was not the file, so what's going on is basically we need to stop the sound device so it can load a new file. So basically what we need to do is when we this file's short, so it ends before, it ends and kills the sound buffer fine. The enter one is longer, and it's hitting, there is some silence after this file, so basically when you press enter, it's hitting the silence of this file. So what we have to do is do play sound dot, oh no, we have to do self.soundDevice dot stop all, and then save it, reload it, and then when we press play, now when we type, yep, I'm the best. And, who else should we put Patriot to? I think I already got the Discord guys in the video, so. Oh, yeah, let's do Alley Cat Jones. Alley Cat Jones is rad. Alright, so that's how you do an interactive typewriter in UPBGE. To review, what we did was we created these variables. We set the mouse visibility to true so we could see the mouse in the game window. We set a text typer to an empty string. We imported the object and set its text to nothing. We initialized the sound strings by assigning the sound paths to the strings here, the tick and the enter. We initialized the audio device. We set two variables for the sound tick and the enter sound. In our sound function, we just play the sound tick because it's nice and short, and it only plays when a key is pressed, so it dies in the sound buffer when the function's not being run, when the function's completed. However, we have some overlap with the enter device, so we have to stop all in the enter sound effect function. And then we switch the sound file to the enter sound here. And then we set the play volume to 08 so it's not as loud as all get out. In our key typer, we set the variables to these keystrokes. We ran this for loop called I that checks what the keyboard inputs are. If backspace is not in the active inputs, when you type something, it'll add the character to the text object string and play a sound. Same with if you press shift, it still does it. So, I mean, that's technically a bug, but this is a tutorial. So, if we wanted to, we'd have to say, we'd have to add it right here. If not R shift in keyboard active inputs, if R shift not in keyboard active inputs, then play the file. And there we go. And now when I press the shift key, the sound file won't play. Oh, it's still playing. I guess it's detecting an inputs.q. I guess we could do if pressed in keyboard inputs. Yep. Pass, and then we can do else. There you go. Now if we do this, press shift, nothing happens, but now when I press something else, I like bacon. And there we go. We've made our typewriter in UPBGE. We now have an interface for the player to enter text. And I think next tutorial we'll probably look at creating buttons and learning how to use collections to manipulate button states. The price is wrong. All right. So like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.